The sky above Seoul turned red that morning, not from the sunrise but from the heat of 1,000 ships breaking through Earth's atmosphere. Captain Daewon stood on the rooftop of a half-destroyed building and watched the alien vessels descend like burning meteors. His rifle hung loose in hands behind him. His soldiers waited in silence. "They're really here," Private Taeyong whispered. The young man's voice shook. This was his first real battle. He had joined the military only 8 months ago, thinking he would spend his time in training exercises and border patrols. Now aliens were invading his planet. Lieutenant Hana crouched beside her equipment, fingers dancing across holographic screens. She was the unit's tech specialist responsible for monitoring enemy communications and coordinating electronic warfare. Her face glowed blue in the light of her displays. "I'm picking up their signals. They're speaking to each other." She pressed her earpiece deeper. "They sound confident." Daewon said nothing. He had been a soldier for 15 years. He had seen combat in 3 different wars before. The world governments united. He knew confidence could be a weakness. The alien ships were massive. Each one was the size of a city block covered in dark metal that seemed to absorb light. They moved slowly, deliberately, as if they had all the time in the world, as if Earth posed no threat at all. They settled over major cities across the planet: Seoul, Tokyo, New York, London, Mumbai. Dozens of landing zones established in minutes. "Command says we pull back," Hana reported, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. "All military units are to retreat from the cities. Civilians have already been evacuated." Taeyong looked confused. "Retreat? But they just got here." "Shouldn't we fight?" Duan finally spoke. His voice was calm and cold. "We follow orders. Private, pack your gear. We move." In 5 minutes, the streets of Seoul were empty as the 15th Mechanized Division pulled back. Their vehicles moved quickly through the abandoned roads. Behind them, the alien landing craft touched down in the city center. Massive doors opened on the ship's sides, and armored figures began to emerge. The aliens were tall, nearly 3 m high, with 4 arms and bodies covered in segmented armor. They carried weapons that glowed with purple energy. They moved through the empty city like conquerors claiming territory without firing a single shot. In a hidden command center 30 km outside the city, Colonel Hun watched the invasion unfold. On multiple screens, officers rushed around him, coordinating the retreat of military forces worldwide. Every human soldier was pulling back, abandoning the cities to the invaders. "They think we're running scared," one officer said, anger in his voice. Colonel Hyan smiled. It was not a kind smile. "Let them think that. How many of their ships have landed?" 70% of their fleet is now on the ground, sir. The rest remain in orbit. "Good, the trap is almost set." Daewon's unit reached their secondary position as night fell. They had driven into the mountains outside Seoul, where they joined thousands of other soldiers. The hillsides were covered with hidden bunkers, artillery positions, and mobile armor units. All of it had been prepared months ago when Earth satellites first detected the alien fleet approaching. Tiang stared at the massive military presence around them. "This was planned. All of it. We've known they were coming for 6 months," Daewon explained. "Every government on Earth worked together. We evacuated the cities. We made it look Like we were unprepared and panicking. We let them land where we wanted them to land. Hana was already setting up her equipment again. She tapped into the military network and began monitoring the alien communications. They're establishing command posts in every major city. They're not even setting up proper defenses. They think they've already won. What are they saying, Day? One asked. Hana listened for a moment, then shook her head in disbelief. They're calling this the easy conquest. They're saying Earth fell in less than a day. They're already planning how to divide our planet among their empire. Gaiyang felt anger burn in his chest. These aliens had traveled across space to take his home. They thought humans were weak, primitive, easy to defeat. They had no idea what they had walked into. A message came through on the command channel. Every soldier in the mountains could hear it. It was General Sang-woo, the supreme commander of Earth's combined military forces. His voice was steady and strong. Soldiers of Earth, you have done well. The enemy believes we are defeated. They have committed most of their forces to ground positions. They are not prepared for what comes next. In 1 hour we will show these invaders what humanity does to those who threaten our home. We will show them what humans do to those who mistake mercy for weakness. Prepare for combat. Make your ancestors proud. Day one checked his rifle. It was a modern weapon combining traditional kinetic rounds with magnetic acceleration. It could punch through most known materials at incredible speeds. Every human soldier carried similar weapons along with plasma grenades, smart explosives, and adaptive armor systems. Taeyang watched the veterans around him prepare for battle. They moved with practiced efficiency, checking weapons, reviewing tactical maps, preparing equipment. These were not frightened primitives. These were professional soldiers from dozens of nations, trained in every form of warfare humanity had ever invented. Captain Taeyang said quietly, "Are we going to win?" Daewon looked at the young private. He remembered asking the same question before his first real battle years ago. Humans have been fighting wars for thousands of years. Taeyang, we fought each other, survived plagues, conquered our own world. These aliens think they're the first real challenge we've faced. He chambered around in his rifle. They're wrong. The hour passed slowly. Soldiers waited in tense silence. Hana monitored the alien positions, marking targets on the tactical network. The invaders were spreading out through the cities, completely unaware of the thousands of weapons aimed at them from the surrounding terrain. Finally, the order came through. Just 2 words spoken by Colonel Hyun himself: light them up. The mountains erupted with fire. Artillery shells screamed through the night sky. Their trajectories calculated by quantum computers. Rail guns fired from hidden positions, sending metal slugs at hypersonic speeds. Missiles launched from mobile platforms. Their guidance systems locked onto alien command posts. Seoul exploded with light and sound. The alien ships that had landed so confidently were suddenly engulfed in flames, their shields designed to stop energy weapons did nothing against solid projectiles moving at incredible velocities. Daewon stood and raised his hand. Mount up, we're going in. His unit climbed into their armored vehicles. The machines roared to life, their engines powerful and loud. Human technology might not have been as elegant as alien designs, but it was effective and brutal. As they drove toward the burning city, Taeyang gripped his rifle and felt his fear transform into something else. Determination, purpose. The aliens had come to conquer Earth, they thought. Humans would be easy prey. They were about to learn the truth. Humanity was not prey. Humanity was the predator, and the hunt had just begun. The alien commander stood in the ruins of his command post, unable to understand what had happened. One moment they were celebrating their easy victory. The next, the sky had turned into fire and death. His soldiers were dying by the hundreds. Their ships were burning, and now he could hear the sound of human vehicles approaching defensive positions. He screamed into his communicator, "The primitives are attacking, prepare to repel them." But his soldiers were confused and disorganized. They had expected frightened humans with crude weapons. Instead, they faced coordinated military strikes from multiple directions. Their shields flickered and failed under the impact of solid projectiles. Their armor, designed to disperse energy weapons, cracked under kinetic force. Day One's mechanized unit crashed into the alien lines like a hammer. The armored vehicles fired their main guns at close range, each shot calculated and precise. Infantry poured out of transport carriers, moving practice formations. These were not panicked defenders. These were professional soldiers executing a battle plan. Hana jammed their communications. Day One ordered. The lieutenant's fingers flew across her portable system. Within seconds, the aliens lost their ability to coordinate. Their command network filled with static and false signals. Officers couldn't reach their troops. Soldiers couldn't call for support. The humans had cut them off from each other. Taeyang fired his rifle in controlled bursts, just as he had been trained. Each shot hit its target. The aliens were large and strong, but they moved slowly in their heavy armor. Human weapons tore through their defenses. The young private watched an alien soldier fall, then another, then three more. His hands were steady now. The fear had burned away, replaced by focus. Sergeant Myra and her sniper team had positioned themselves on a high building 3 km from the battle. Through her advanced scope, she could see everything. She marked targets carefully, prioritizing alien officers. Her rifle was a masterpiece of human engineering, capable of hitting targets at extreme distances with perfect accuracy. She exhaled slowly and squeezed the trigger. The rifle made almost no sound. But 3,000 m away, an alien commander's head exploded. His troops nearby panicked, looking around for the threat. They couldn't see. Myr was already lining up her next shot. Target 2 eliminated, she reported calmly, moving to target 3. Her spotter, Corporal Bora, fed her information from the tactical network. "Nice shot, Command. Wants you to focus on their vehicle operators next." Understood. Across the planet, the same scene repeated. In Tokyo, human forces overran an alien landing zone in 35 minutes. In New York, the aliens retreated underground, only to find that humans had prepared the sewers with explosives. In Mumbai, human forces used the narrow streets to their advantage, ambushing alien patrols with brutal efficiency. The aliens had studied Earth from orbit. They had seen the cities, the infrastructure, the apparent primitive technology, but they had not understood what they were looking at. They saw highways and thought of simple transport. They didn't realize those roads were designed to move armies quickly. They saw tall buildings and thought of housing. They didn't realize those structures made perfect sniper positions and artillery. Spotting posts, Colonel Hyan watched the battle reports flow into his command center. Every screen showed human victories. The aliens were being pushed back everywhere. Their casualties were mounting into the thousands, and the humans had barely begun to use their full military capability. "Sir, we're receiving distress signals from the alien fleet," an officer reported. "The ground forces are calling for orbital support." Hyan leaned back in his chair. "Let them call. We'll deal with their ship soon enough. Right now, I want every ground force eliminated. Show them what happens when you invade Earth." Daewon's unit pushed deeper into Seoul. The city was a battlefield now, but it was a battlefield the humans understood. Every street, every building, every intersection had been mapped and planned for. The aliens were fighting on human territory by human rules. An alien soldier charged at Taeyang, all forearms swinging massive blades. The private rolled aside, brought his rifle up, and fired a 3-round burst into the alien's exposed joints. The creature fell hard, its armor smoking from the impacts. Taeyang didn't celebrate. He just moved to the next target. "Good shot, Private," Daewon called out. The captain was coordinating his entire unit, fighting alongside them. He had done this before in other wars against other enemies. This was just another battle. The fact that the enemy came from another planet made no difference. Hana had set up a portable command station behind an overturned alien vehicle. Her screen showed the entire battlefield, updated in real time by satellites, drones, and soldier cameras. She could see patterns in the alien movements, predict their tactics. She fed this information to every human unit in the area. "Captain, they're trying to fall back to their main ship," she reported. "They want to retreat. Don't let them." Daewon ordered. "Cut them off. I want that ship captured, not destroyed." Human forces moved to block the alien retreat. Armored vehicles formed a wall of metal and firepower. Infantry positioned themselves in buildings and streets, creating overlapping fields of fire. When the aliens tried to run, they ran straight into a trap. The battle for the alien ship was fierce. The invaders fought desperately, now realizing they were trapped, but desperation was not enough. Human soldiers had trained for urban combat, close quarters fighting, room-to-room clearing. The aliens had trained to fight in open space against enemies with energy weapons. They were out of their element. Sergeant Myra eliminated the last alien officer from her position. Without leadership, the remaining invaders began to surrender. Some dropped their weapons. Others tried to flee and were captured. Within 2 hours of the initial human counterattack, the battle for Seoul was over. Similar reports came from around the world. Tokyo cleared, New York secured, London taken, Mumbai liberated. The aliens had landed in dozens of cities, and in every single one they had been defeated. In orbit, the Valfari fleet commander received the reports with growing horror. His ground forces were destroyed or captured. The casualties were catastrophic. More than half his army was gone, and the battle had lasted less than 4 hours. "This is impossible," he whispered. "Our intelligence said they were primitives. They said this would be easy." His second officer looked at the casualty reports with disbelief. "Commander, we need to retrieve our forces. We need to pull back. No, the commander said. The Emperor will not accept failure. Prepare for orbital bombardment. If we cannot take the planet, we will make them surrender. On Earth, Colonel Hune received the warning from his satellite network. The alien ships in orbit, charging their weapons, preparing to fire on the planet's surface. He smiled. Again, that same cold smile from before. They're escalating. Good, now we show them what else we've prepared. He opened a channel to Admiral Kong, commander of Earth Space Defense Fleet. Admiral, the aliens are about to bombard our cities. I think it's time we introduce them to the rest of our military. With pleasure, Colonel. Admiral Kyle replied. All ships prepare to engage. Show these invaders that Earth is not defenseless. Hidden among the orbital debris around Earth, hundreds of objects suddenly activated. What the aliens had thought was space junk was actually an entire defense network. Rail gun, satellites, missile platforms, and automated defense stations all came online at once. The Vithari fleet detected the activation, but too late. The first rail gunshots hit 3 alien cruisers before they could raise shields. The solid projectiles accelerated to tremendous speeds, punched through the ships like paper. Explosions blossomed in the darkness of space. Day One stood in the captured alien ship and watched through a viewport as the battle began in orbit. Fire and light filled the black sky. He could see human ships emerging from the dark side of the moon, moving to engage the alien fleet. Taeyang joined him at the window. The young soldier was covered in dirt and smoke, his armor scorched from battle, but he was alive. And they had won. Is it over, Captain? He asked. Day One shook his head slowly. No, Private, this is just the beginning. We won the ground battle. Now comes the hard part. He pointed at the fighting in orbit. Now we have to win the war. Admiral Cao Yuang stood on the bridge of the Earth defense ship, indomitable, and watched the alien fleet through the main view screen. The Valari ships were massive and intimidating, built to project power across star systems, but the Admiral had spent 30 years preparing for this exact moment. Earth had known for decades that it was not alone in the universe. They had prepared accordingly. All ships report. Ready, Admiral, his tactical officer announced. Commander Suman had served with Cao Yuang for 15 years. She was calm under pressure, brilliant with strategy, and absolutely ruthless when necessary. Begin the attack, Cao Yuang ordered. Target their cruisers first. Leave the smaller ships for the satellite network. The Earth Defense Fleet moved like a school of fish, small and fast. Compared to the massive alien vessels, human ships had been designed with one purpose: to fight enemies with superior technology. They were packed with missiles, rail guns, and electronic warfare systems. Most importantly, they were designed to use tactics the aliens had never encountered. The Vari commander watched in confusion as the human ships scattered in all directions. They moved in no recognizable pattern, breaking every rule of space warfare he knew. His weapons officers struggled to get target locks. The human vessels were too fast, too erratic. Fire all weapons, he commanded. Destroy them. Energy beams lanced through space, but the human ships were already moving. They used the debris from earlier battles as cover, popping out to fire missiles, then disappearing again. It was like fighting shadows. On Earth, Daewon received new orders. His unit was being reassigned to Space combat operations. He gathered his soldiers, including Taeyang and Hana, and explained the mission. We're going up, he said simply. Command wants us to board one of the alien capital ships. We're going to take it from the inside. Tiang looked nervous again. Board it. Hell. Boarding pods, they'll launch us from the Indomitable directly at the alien ship. We'll punch through their hull and fight our way to their bridge. Hana checked her equipment. Their internal defenses will be strong. We and LT, Unk and GT, LL be heavily outnumbered. When are we not? Day One replied with a slight smile. Pack your gear, we launch. In 2 hours, Dr. Juan worked frantically in a laboratory beneath the Gobi Desert. The scientist had spent 20 years developing weapon systems for the day when Earth might face external threats. Now that day had come, and her creations were finally being used in actual combat. The resonance disruptors are working perfectly, she told her team. The alien shields can't adapt to shifting frequencies. Keep producing them. I want every ship and soldier equipped within 6 hours. Her assistant, researcher Minyu, looked at the test results with amazement. Doctor, these weapons use principles the aliens seem completely unfamiliar with. How did you know they would work? Guy smiled. Because humans have always been good at finding new ways to break things. We don't just build weapons to match our enemies, we build weapons our enemies can't imagine. She pulled up another schematic. Now let's talk about the gravity mines. Those are going to really surprise them. The boarding pods launch from the Indomitable like bullets. Each pod contained a dozen soldiers in full combat armor, equipped for zero-gravity warfare. Daewon's stomach lurched as the pod accelerated, heading straight for the largest alien ship in the fleet. 30 seconds to impact. The pilot called out. Daewon checked his rifle one last time. It had been modified for space combat with special ammunition that wouldn't puncture the ship's hull. His soldiers were strapped into their seats, ready for the violent entry. The pod hit the alien hull with tremendous force. Shaped charges detonated, cutting through the metal. The pod buried itself deep into the ship, and the doors blew open. Go, go, go. Daewon shouted. The soldiers poured out into an alien corridor. Gravity here was lighter than Earth normal, and they moved with practiced efficiency. They had trained for zero-gravity combat for months, knowing this day might come. Alien defenders appeared almost immediately, but they were confused by the sudden breach. Human soldiers moved in coordinated teams, covering each other as they advanced. Their weapons fired in short, precise bursts. No wasted ammunition, no panic, just professional military action. Hana set up her mobile hacking station in a secured room. I need 5 minutes to access their system, she said. You've got 3. Daewon replied, positioning soldiers to defend the position. The aliens tried to retake the corridor, but human tactics proved superior in the tight spaces. Taeyang threw a stun grenade that knocked down 3 enemies. Sergeant Myra, who had joined them for this mission, used her rifle with deadly precision even in zero gravity. Each shot found its mark. I'm in, Hana announced. Their security is strong but rigid. They don't adapt to new intrusion methods. Downloading their navigation data now. Her fingers danced across holographic keys. Captain, I can cause some chaos if you want. Do it. Daewon ordered. Hana triggered several commands throughout the alien ship. Doors locked or opened randomly. Life. Support systems in empty sections shut down. Computer systems began receiving false data. The ship's own systems were turning against it. The alien crew panicked. They had never experienced cyber warfare like this. Their technology was advanced, but it was designed to resist external attacks, not internal sabotage from beings who thought about computers completely differently. In space, Admiral Kong watched as 3 more human boarding parties successfully breached alien vessels. The Marines are performing well, he observed. Suman status on our main fleet. We've destroyed 8 enemy cruisers and damaged 12 more. Commander Suman reported, our losses are light. 5 ships damaged, none destroyed. The satellite network is keeping their smaller vessels occupied. Good. Begin Phase 2. Target their flagship Indomitable and 5 other capital ships formed up and accelerated toward the largest Vari vessel. The alien flagship was 3 times the size of any human ship, bristling with weapons and protected by powerful shields. It was the command center for the entire invasion fleet, the Valari fleet. Commander watched the human ships approach with contempt. They're attacking the flagship directly. Foolish. Concentrate all fire on those vessels, destroy them. But when he gave the order, nothing happened. His weapon systems were not responding. What is wrong? Fire the weapons. His technical officer looked confused at his console. Sir, the systems are not accepting commands. Something is interfering with our computer network. Inside the flagship, Hana had successfully connected to the main computer system. Captain, I have partial control of their flagship. I can't shut down their weapons completely, but I can make them malfunction. That's all we need. Day 1 said keep going. The human fleet opened fire on the flagship. Missiles streaked across the darkness, followed by railgun rounds. The alien shields held, but they were flickering, unstable. Something was wrong with the ship's power distribution. Dr. Jiwan's newest weapons were deployed. The gravity mines activated near the flagship, creating intense gravitational fields that pulled at the massive ship. The Valfari vessel shuddered and began to list to one side. Its shields collapsed under the strain. Now Admiral Kong ordered all ships concentrated fire. Every human vessel fired at once. The alien flagship was hit by hundreds of projectiles and missiles in the span of seconds. Its armor cracked and broke. Explosions rippled across its surface. The massive ship began to break apart. Evacuate. Duan shouted to his team. Back to the pods now. His unit ran through the dying ship as it tore itself apart. Around them, they reached the boarding pods and launched just as the flagship exploded. The shock wave sent their small craft tumbling, but they survived. Taeyang watched through the pod's small viewport as the alien flagship became an expanding ball of fire and debris. We did it, he whispered. We actually did it. The Vari fleet broke without their flagship and command structure. The remaining ships began to retreat. Some tried to flee into deep space. Others simply drifted, their crews too shocked to function. The humans had done the impossible. They had defeated a superior alien force. Back on Earth, Colonel Hyun received the battle reports. The ground invasion was completely defeated. The space battle was won. Earth had survived its first contact with hostile alien life, and not just survived, but triumphed, but the colonel knew this was not over. Get me a communication link to the retreating alien ships, he ordered. It's time we had a conversation with their leadership. Admiral Kong's face appeared on the screen. Canel, we have them on the run. Should we pursue and destroy the remaining vessels? He unshook his head. No, let them run. Let them carry the news back to their empire. He smiled coldly. Let them tell their leaders what happens when someone tries to conquer Earth. Sometimes the best weapon is fear. In the wreckage of the orbital battle, human ships began rescue operations, pulling both human and alien survivors from destroyed vessels. Engineers started salvaging alien technology for study. Scientists recorded everything they had learned. Daewon's pod docked with the Indomitable. He and his team climbed out, exhausted but alive. Taeyang collapsed against a wall, breathing hard. Hana was already downloading all the data she had stolen from the alien computers. Good work, Captain. Admiral Kiang said, greeting them personally. The Valfari Emperor sat on his throne in the Imperial Palace, watching the battle. Reports with growing rage. His invasion fleet had been destroyed, his best soldiers defeated, and now the survivors were fleeing back to Imperial space with tales of human ferocity that spread fear through his empire. This is unacceptable, he declared to his council. We are the Valfari Empire. We have conquered 47 star systems. We do not lose to primitive worlds. He stood, his massive form imposing in the dim throne room. Send the Imperial Guard. Send our finest warriors. I want Earth crushed and its people broken. His military advisor, General K, bowed low. Your Majesty, perhaps we should reconsider. The humans have proven more capable than our intelligence suggested. They fight with cunning and weapons we did not anticipate. Are you questioning my command? The Emperor asked, his voice dangerous. No, Your Majesty, I simply suggest we approach with caution. The Imperial Guard does not need caution. They need only targets. The Emperor sat back down. Send them. Show these humans what happens when they defy the Empire. On Earth, 3 weeks had passed since the first invasion was defeated. Human forces had captured several alien vessels intact and were studying the technology. Scientists worked around the clock to understand shield systems, faster than light drives and energy weapons. Dr. Juan coordinated teams across multiple continents. The alien technology is impressive, she explained to General Sang Woo during a briefing. But it's also predictable. They build to a formula following rules we can now understand and exploit. Humans don't think that way. We improvise, we adapt. We find new solutions to old problems. General Sang Woo listened carefully. He was the supreme commander of Earth's ground forces, a veteran of countless battles. Doctor, will your new weapons be ready if they attack again? They're ready now, Ji-Yun confirmed, and I have some surprises that will shock them. Aliens think in terms of energy and shields. We're going to introduce them to concepts they've never considered. Captain Duan had been promoted to major and given command of a special operations unit. His team included his veteran soldiers and new recruits, all trained in the tactics that had proven effective against the aliens. They drilled constantly, preparing for the next attack everyone knew was coming. Taeyang was no longer the nervous private he had been. Combat had hardened him, given him confidence. He trained New soldiers teaching them the lessons he had learned fighting aliens in the streets of Seoul and in the corridors of their ships. They're bigger and stronger than us, he told the recruits, but that doesn't matter. They move in predictable patterns. They rely on their technology too much. We use terrain, we use tactics, and we use their assumptions against them. Remember, they think we're primitives. That's our advantage. Lieutenant Hana, now Captain Hana, led the Cyber Warfare Division. She had studied the alien computer systems extensively and developed new methods of infiltration and sabotage. Her team could now hack alien networks in minutes rather than hours. Sergeant Murray commanded an entire sniper battalion. She had trained hundreds of soldiers in long-range precision shooting. Distance is safety, she told her snipers. You kill their leaders before they even know you're there. You make them afraid to step into the open. Commander Yoonji led Earth's elite Special Forces, a unit that combined soldiers from every nation. They were trained in every combat method humanity had ever developed: close quarters fighting, infiltration, assassination, sabotage, and psychological warfare. They were the soldiers sent on impossible missions. We're not trying to be fair, Yoonji told her troops. During training, we're trying to win. Fair fights are for sports and games. War is about using every advantage. You have to destroy your enemy before they destroy you. The second invasion fleet arrived exactly 42 days after the first. But these ships were different, sleeker, faster, covered in armor that seemed to shimmer with power. These were the vessels of the Imperial Guard, the elite warriors of the Valari Empire. They did not descend slowly like the first fleet. They came in fast, launching smaller craft that scattered across Earth's atmosphere. These warriors were trained, experienced, and they knew what they were facing. General Sang-woo watched from his command center as the new alien forces deployed. They learned from their mistakes, he observed. They're not clustering in the cities, they're spreading out, hitting multiple targets, trying to divide our forces. Then we adapt, Colonel Hun replied. Alert all units, this will be harder than the first battle. The aliens are serious. Now, Day 1 Special Operations Team was deployed to a combat zone in the mountains of Nepal. The aliens had established a forward base there, using the terrain to their advantage, but the Imperial Guard had never fought in Earth's mountains, and they didn't understand what they were dealing with. Mountains are our home, Duan told his soldiers. Humans have been fighting mountain warfare for thousands of years. Let's give them a lesson. His team moved through the rocky terrain like ghosts. They knew every hiding spot, every approach route. The aliens might have superior technology, but humans had superior knowledge of their own world. The Imperial Guard soldiers were indeed more skilled than the previous invaders. They moved in disciplined formations, checked their surroundings, established proper defensive positions. But they still made mistakes. Yoonji's Special Forces team hit the alien base from 5 different directions. Simultaneously, they used the terrain perfectly, appearing from behind rocks and ridges where the aliens didn't expect attacks. Human soldiers fought with a ferocity that shocked the Imperial Guard. They enjoy this, one alien warrior said to his commander, his voice filled with horror. The humans are enjoying the battle. They smile while they fight. It was true. Some human soldiers did smile during combat, not from cruelty, but from the pure adrenaline rush of facing death and surviving. It was a psychological weapon the aliens had no defense against. Taeyang led a squad through a narrow canyon pursuing a group of alien soldiers. When the aliens tried to set an ambush, Taeyang anticipated it. He had studied their tactics, knew how they thought. He sent his squad around the ambush point and attacked from behind. Always think one step ahead, he told his soldiers as they secured the position. The aliens are warriors, but we're soldiers. There's a difference. Captain Hana infiltrated the alien communication network again, but this time it was harder. The Imperial Guard had better security, more sophisticated encryption. She worked for hours, barely sleeping, determined to crack their systems. I need more time, she told Day One over the communication link. Their security is adaptive now. It fights back, then fight harder. Daewon replied, we need their communication down if we're going to win this. Hana stared at her screens, watching the data flow past. Then she saw something. Pattern in the alien code, a weakness she could exploit. It wasn't an error in their system, it was an error in how they thought about security. They assumed attackers would use certain methods, follow certain rules. Hana didn't either. She launched her attack from an angle the alien programmers had never considered. Their security systems didn't recognize it as an attack until it was too late. Within minutes she had access to their entire network. I'm in, she announced triumphantly, feeding false coordinates to their artillery. Now they're about to start shooting at empty terrain. Sergeant Murray positioned her sniper teams on mountaintops overlooking the battlefield. From these positions they could see for kilometers. The aliens might be elite warriors, but they couldn't fight what they couldn't see. Her rifle spoke once, twice, 3 times. Each shot traveled over 4 km. Before finding its target, 3 alien commanders fell before anyone realized they were under sniper fire. The Imperial Guard began to panic, looking around for threats that might be anywhere. Dr. Jiwan's new weapons were deployed to the battlefield. Human soldiers activated devices that created disruptive sound waves tuned to frequencies that affected alien biology. The Imperial Guard warriors suddenly found themselves dizzy and disoriented. Their balance was disrupted, their focus scattered. Humans are terrifying, an Imperial Guard commander reported to his fleet. They don't just fight with weapons, they fight with sound, with computer viruses, with tricks and deception. They attack our minds as much as our bodies. This is not warfare as we know it. The battle raged for 3 days and nights. The Imperial Guard was strong and skilled, but they were fighting on humanity's home ground, by humanity's rules. Every advantage they had was countered by human ingenuity and determination. Daewon's team finally breached the main alien base on the 4th day. They fought room by room, corridor by corridor. The aliens were tough opponents, but human soldiers had trained for exactly this kind of close quarters combat. They used stun grenades, smoke screens, and coordinated team tactics. Yunji's special forces captured the alien commander alive. The elite warrior looked at his human captors with something close to respect. You fight with honor, he said, in broken English, but also with cruelty. You are not what we expected. We're human, Yunji replied simply. We survive. Around the world, similar battles ended in human victories. The Imperial Guard had underestimated Earth, again assuming that better training would be enough. The Valfari Emperor stood in his war room surrounded by holographic displays, showing the ruins of his second invasion force. His finest warriors had been defeated, his Imperial Guard, who had never lost a battle in 300 years, had been driven from Earth by humans. Around him, his council remained silent, afraid to speak. Enough, the Emperor finally said. His voice was quiet, which made it more frightening. Prepare my personal ship. I will go to Earth myself. General Kreth stepped forward carefully. Your Majesty, you cannot risk yourself in combat against these humans. They are too dangerous. I am not going to fight. The Emperor replied, I am going to negotiate. The humans have earned that much. He turned to face his council. Send a message to Earth. Tell them the Emperor wishes to discuss terms of peace. On Earth, the message was received with suspicion and caution. President Nari, the elected leader of Earth's unified government, called an emergency meeting with military leadership. The room included General Sang Woo, Admiral Kyung, Colonel Hyan, and several other commanders. It could be a trick, General Sang Woo said. Another attack, or it could be genuine. President Nari replied. She was a former diplomat who had negotiated the unification of Earth's governments when the first alien signals were detected. Either way, we should talk, but on our terms, in our location. Admiral Kyoyuang agreed. We tell them to come to Geneva, neutral ground. We surround the area with military forces. If they try anything, we destroy them, and we show them our strength. Colonel Hunan added, let them see what they're dealing with. Major Duan was assigned to the security detail for the meeting. His team, including Captain Hana and now Sergeant Taeyang, would be responsible for protecting the human delegation and monitoring for threats. They took their positions around the meeting site in Geneva 3 days before the aliens arrived. Stay alert, Duan told his soldiers. We've beaten them twice, but a cornered enemy is dangerous. Be ready for anything. Taeyang checked his rifle for the 100th time. He had come a long way from the nervous private who had watched the first alien ships descend. Now he was a decorated soldier, veteran of 2 alien invasions. Do you think they really want peace? He asked. Doesn't matter what they want, Daewon replied. What matters is what we're willing to accept. The Emperor's ship arrived exactly on schedule. It was smaller than his war vessels, designed for diplomacy rather than combat, but it was still impressive, gleaming with polished metal and advanced technology. It landed in a secured area outside Geneva, surrounded by human military forces. The Emperor emerged with only a small escort. He was massive even for his species, standing over 3 m tall. His armor was ornate, covered with symbols of his rank and power, but his weapons were disabled, and his guards were limited to ceremonial equipment. He had come to talk, not fight. President Nari met him in a conference building with General Sang Woo and Admiral Kong at her side. Translators worked to convert the languages, though both sides had learned something of each other's speech during the battles. Emperor President Nari said formally, you asked for this meeting, we have granted it. Emperor looked at the human leaders, studying them. They were so small compared to his people, so fragile looking, yet these small beings had destroyed his armies. I came to understand how we failed, he said. Finally, my empire has conquered 47 worlds. We have never been defeated. Before, how did you do it, General? Sang Woo spoke, because you misunderstood us. You saw our technology and thought we were primitive. You saw our divided nations and thought we were weak. You assumed you were superior. Were we wrong? The emperor asked. Completely, Admiral Cao Yuang answered. You have better ships, better weapons, better armor, but we have something you lack. We have experience with war, not just fighting but war, real war where nations and civilizations struggle for survival. Daewon watched from his position. Listening to the conversation, he could see the emperor struggling to comprehend what the humans were saying. President Nari continued, for thousands of years, we fought each other, nation against nation, ideology against ideology. We developed weapons not to conquer other worlds but to destroy each other. We created tactics not for glory but for survival. Every military innovation, human history came from the need to fight other humans. You are saying that your conflict with each other made you strong? The emperor seemed confused by the concept. Yes, Sang Woo confirmed. We know every way to fight because we've tried them all against each other: urban warfare, guerrilla tactics, psychological operations, cyber warfare, assassination, sabotage. We invented these methods fighting our own kind. You walked into the sum total of human military history. The emperor was silent for a long moment, then he spoke again. Show me. Show you what? President Nari asked. Show me your world. Show me your history. I need to understand what kind of people we attacked. The human leaders exchanged glances. It was an unusual request, but they agreed. Over the next 3 days, they gave the emperor a tour of human history. They showed him museums of ancient warfare, from bronze swords to nuclear weapons. They showed him records of human conflicts, the battles and wars that had shaped civilization. In a military museum in Beijing, the emperor looked at displays of weapons spanning millennia: stone spears, bronze swords, steel armor, gunpowder cannons, machine guns, missiles. Each display showed how humans had constantly improved their ability to kill other humans. You never stopped, he said quietly. For your entire history, you never stopped finding new ways to fight. War is part of who we are, Daewon said. He had accompanied the tour as part of the security detail. We don't like it. We wish it wasn't true, but we're very, very good at it. They showed the emperor footage from the battles against the Valari forces. He watched his soldiers being outmaneuvered, outfought, and defeated by the smaller humans. He saw the tactics that had destroyed his armies: ambushes, flanking maneuvers, electronic warfare, sniper attacks, psychological operations. You attacked us in ways we never anticipated, he observed. You used sound as a weapon. You used our own computers against us. You made us fear invisible enemies. This is not honorable warfare. There is no honor in warfare, General. Sang Woo replied bluntly. There is only winning or losing, survival or death. We chose survival. At a military training facility, they showed the emperor how human soldiers were trained. He watched Sergeant Taeyong leading a training exercise, teaching new recruits the tactics that had defeated the Imperial Guard. Remember, Taeyong told the recruits, they're stronger and better armed, but we're smarter and more adaptable. Use the terrain, use cover. Work as a team, make every shot count. And never fight fair if you can. Avoid it, the emperor looked disturbed. You teach your young to be ruthless, we teach them to survive, Taeyang responded. There's a difference, they brought the emperor to Dr. Juan's laboratory, she showed him the weapons she had developed, explaining the principles behind each one. Resonance disruptors, gravity mines, sonic weapons, computer viruses designed specifically to attack alien systems. You created all this to fight us? The emperor asked. No. Juan replied, we created this to fight anyone who threatened us. You just happened to be the first to actually attack. These weapons are based on human scientific principles, but the ideas come from nature, from physics, from pure curiosity. Humans don't just build weapons to match our enemies, we build weapons our enemies can't imagine. Finally, they showed him the damaged alien vessels that had been captured. Human engineers were taking them apart, studying every system, learning every secret. In a few months, humans would be able to build their own versions of alien technology, but improved with human innovations. You're learning from us, the emperor realized. You're taking our technology and making it yours. That's what humans do. Admiral Qiang said, we learn, we adapt, we improve. Give us another year, and we'll have ships that can challenge yours on equal terms. Give us 10 years, and we'll surpass you. The emperor returned to the conference building, where the negotiations were to continue. But now he looked at the humans differently. He had come thinking he would dictate terms to a defeated enemy. Instead, he found himself facing an enemy that could not be defeated. What do you want? He asked President Nari directly. What are your terms? President Nari laid out Earth's demands. They were simple and direct. The Valari Empire would recognize Earth as a sovereign world. They would share technological information freely. They would establish trade and diplomatic relations. Most importantly, they would tell every other species in the galaxy about Earth and its defenders. You want us to advertise your strength? The emperor asked. Yes. President Nari confirmed. We want the galaxy to know that Earth is not prey. We want them to know that humans are not victims. Let them come as friends and partners, or let them stay away, but never again let them come as conquerors. The emperor considered this. Then, surprisingly, he laughed. It was a strange sound, but it was genuine. You are remarkable, terrifying, but remarkable. He stood and offered his hand in the human gesture of agreement. He had learned. I accept your terms. Vithari Empire will honor this peace. President Nari shook his hand.